Hello everybody, my name is Marsh, and today I wanted to talk about why you should watch an anime known as Wolf's Rain. Let's jump into it. So to start out, I wanted to mention that this is going to be a two-part video. The first part's going to be my spoiler-free why you should watch review, and the second part's going to be a spoiler-filled discussion in terms of the themes and the ideas that I pulled out of the anime itself and what I got from it personally. For this first video, there are a few things I wanted to cover. 1. A brief summary of what the story is about. 2. The characters. 3. The setting. 4. The plot. 5. The animation and the soundtrack. And finally, my overall enjoyment of the show itself, and if you should watch it. With all that being said though, if you do end up enjoying this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe because that would be greatly appreciated. So to start this section out, I'm going to give you a brief summary of what the story is about without going into any major spoilers and mostly just a premise of what the show is. If you considered the story premise a spoiler, then here's your warning to click off the video. Other than that though, let's go ahead and get started. Wolf's Rain is about a group of individuals that are being hunted down by society for who they are. Meanwhile, that group is just simply trying to find a place known as paradise. These individuals are what are known as wolves. Similar to other mediums, they are sort of werewolves in a way, but not really. Throughout the anime itself, we see them both as wolves and humans independently at certain times. I won't go into any more details in regards to that, and I'll let you figure that out for yourself, but that's essentially what's going on here, and this group of wolves is being hunted down by society because of who they are, and they're just trying to find solace in a place known as paradise. Throughout the story, we get a viewpoint from both the pack itself as well as their pursuers, and we get an explanation and reasoning behind why they're doing what they are doing. That's the most basic explanation of the premise that I can really give you without going into spoilers, but trust me, it's more than just what it sounds, and it not only has some very deep themes that will get you thinking, but they will also hit you in the heart. Now that we summarize the story though, let's go ahead and jump into what I think the show does best, and that is its characters. So for this section of the video, I would just want to go over the characters within the pack itself, and I want to also go over what I like and dislike about how the show handles its characters. So the anime consists of 4 main characters. You have Sume, Hige, Kaiba, and Toboe. These are your 4 main protagonists throughout the story. There's other people as well that can be considered main protagonists in a way, but I don't want to mention them due to spoiler reasons, and I think you learning about them yourself is part of the enjoyment. And honestly, the best thing about the show itself is how the anime handles all of its characters. These 4 main characters that we follow honestly have a lot put into them, as well as the other background characters you come to learn. A lot of them have tragic and deep backstories, as well as a lot of nuance that it's put into the characters themselves. And it's not just the Fantastic 4 boys that have the nuance built into them, it's throughout all the characters, even their pursuants and other side characters that we learn about as well. I will say with most of the characters, a lot of them do have tragic backstories, and it seems very bleak, but a lot of that is because of the world itself that the universe is built around, and it's not a very positive place to live in. However, these background characters are just as in-depth as our main protagonists, and all the characters as a whole get such good development and have good arcs that it's actually kind of surprising. However, I will say the main protagonist of the 4 boys is probably the most shallow of them all in terms of nuance. He still has a story that's there and it's quite good, but it's not the deepest story compared to the other people. Now with all that being said, of course when you have a lot of characters, the environment they're put into and the setting will obviously build up who they are as a person. And so let's take a look at the setting of Wolf's Rain. Setting. Wolf's Rain is set in a post-apocalyptic world where a majority of the population all lived in these domed cities. And in between those cities are massive wastelands and ruins and tiny encampments and strange entities that they encounter. Now, initially, we don't know about this world other than the environment that is shown to us directly. We do know that there are some technological advances that have occurred though. For example, some cities have access to electricity, flying cars, ships, lasers, and other advanced technologies, while other cities are living off the land. They've been stricken and poor, and other places have encampments where they're literally living off nature. All the places we visit though all have their own story and their own depth to them, and we learn more about how they became what they were, and that's part of the mystery that we're solving, is why everything is how it is in this world and how these environments came to be how they are. That's basically all there is to talk about when it comes to the setting though. Let's go ahead and start to talk about the plot. No, not that type of plot. The actual story, you buffoon. So, in terms of plot, there's a few things I wanted to talk about. So first, to talk about a positive, let's discuss how the plot was overall. Now, overall, the plot's very good. Each episode wraps itself up. There's multiple mini arcs between the whole overarching story. And sometimes an episode is kind of like your monster of the week. You're seeing what you get with these mini, few episode plots and how they handled them. But they're all very good. They all push the story forward with each plot. It's not like, here's your monster of the week, kill it, and that's it. Every mini arc has its own place. I think the biggest issue when it comes to the plot itself is the fact that the show is dependent upon OVAs to complete the show. The reason it's dependent upon OVAs is because there is recap episodes. Yes, episodes. A 26 episode anime has not one recap episode, but 4. Now, I was trying to figure out what was going on here, why this happened. From reading online, what I could find, basically there was some type of writer strike, I think, at the time when it was being made, and so they didn't have any new material to put through. They essentially made 4 recaps episodes in a row during the strike. It was either that or they needed time to develop the ending of the story, and so they just made recap episodes. Either way, it honestly kills the pacing of the show. I almost dropped the show itself because of those recap episodes, but luckily I picked it up and finished it. That being said, if you want the true ending to the show itself, you are going to have to watch the 4 episodes in an OVA. Now, normally I would have issue with this, but essentially it's still a 26 episode anime. If you take out the 4 recap episodes and then basically throw the 4 OVAs on the end of the episodes after those, it's still 26 episodes. It fills in the spot. I just wish this wouldn't have happened. It did though. That's something you have to deal with, and it is there. You will have to watch the OVA for the true ending to make sense of it all, but it is worth it overall, I would say. Other than that middle part though, where it slows down because of the recap episodes and gets hard to pick up, it's worth it to finish it. And that's basically it for the plot. I don't really have any other complaints to mention. Now let's get on to the next part, animation and soundtrack. Now, it is an older anime from 2004, so it makes sense that the animation isn't as up to date as it is now. I don't personally hold older animation against itself, depending how it's done and if it stands up and is good. There are some simple shots that are there where the characters are just simply looking in one direction. It's not showing their mouth because they want to save budget, obviously, and they're just talking. There are things like that do occur. You can see where they're saving budget at certain points. But overall, with the animation, it actually is done quite well. One thing I love about the show and the animation is the characters themselves have such distinct designs, and all of them have their own image. They're not cookie cutter. In a lot of newer anime, sometimes the only difference between one character to another is the color of their hair. And you gotta kind of figure that out. All of them have unique designs, and I do appreciate that. Along with that as well, one thing I love about older animes is the hand-drawn backgrounds. It reminds me of a Final Fantasy game where, especially the older ones, where you just got a little model and you're going through these hand-drawn backgrounds basically in each area. But the backgrounds are beautiful. There's some stunning shots that are amazing in the background, and sometimes the animation just blows you away with the show. And it's something I love about older animes, like the grittiness as well. A lot of older anime have this grittiness to them that I kind of miss from newer shows. There is some new shows that do it well. I think Megalobox had a grittiness because it was supposed to look like an older hand-drawn anime. And I kind of miss that when new and stuff, but I don't hold it against new shows. But it's nice to see that again. And I just love the overall design, backgrounds, and everything they do with the animation, outside of a few shots where they're trying to obviously save budget. To go along with the animation though, we have to talk about the soundtrack, and what a soundtrack it is. Now, it was produced by Yoko Kanno, so anything she touches is gold, so automatically it's going to be amazing. And it's funny because when I was first watching, I'm like, this soundtrack is just amazing. I was like, I actually looked it up. I don't look up soundtracks very often for anime. Like, it really has to speak to me. And then I look it up, and of course it's Yoko Kanno. It just makes sense. So that is something to look forward to, especially if you like her previous works that she's done, such as like Cowboy Bebop, for example. Then you're going to love the music in this show, and it really, really helps the animation. When it comes to music itself in anime, I often find a mediocre soundtrack won't hinder anything, but when you have an amazing soundtrack, it can help elevate the anime above what it actually is sometimes, and make a mediocre anime better, or make a very good anime exceptional when you have an amazing soundtrack to follow along with it. So that's obviously a plus for the soundtrack and the animation. So now that we've talked about all of that, let's go ahead and get into my final verdict on the show. Now, if you couldn't tell already, I loved this show for what it was. I've only done one watch through so far, but it's honestly a contender for one of my top anime. And trying to crack the top 10 list, we'll see maybe. I don't know yet, but it's definitely up there. I'm going to cool down before I say that though, so that I can see if it stands up to the test of time when it comes to everything. But it's definitely great, and I love it so far. Outside of my personal enjoyment for the show, I also think it has some beautiful themes that it likes to discuss, whether that's the cost of false retribution and revenge, the toll that devoting oneself to their life's passion can take on their family, or even the found family trope. There are just so many things that can be taken from this show that I personally connected with. So, should you watch Wolf's Rain? Yes, watch it. Please, it's so good. Honestly, I think if it wasn't for the 4 recap episodes in the middle of the show, this show would actually be considered as one of the classics when it comes to anime. I mean, it has like the pedigree for it. Yoko Kanno for the music. The creator of the show itself also worked on like Samurai Champloo, Space Dandy, Cowboy Bebop. It has the pedigree and it should be considered a classic, but it was overlooked, and it also feels out of place because of those 4 recap episodes. So it's kind of a shame, and it's probably, I would say, a cult classic now, but not like a full classic. Overall though, if you have seen the show, did you like it? No spoilers, please, for people who haven't watched it. But if you did like it, feel free to tell me. If you didn't like it, tell me as well. Other than that though, if you have any other recommendations for shows I should watch, let me know. Overall, thank you for watching though. I do appreciate it. If you could leave a like and subscribe, that'd be amazing. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day today. Bye-bye.